Hey, what's up everybody? It's Kellen here from Start Your Systems and welcome back to MX Simulator, where today we're going to be previewing the 2023 Tampa Supercross, which is raced in MX Simulator on Wednesday night, and of course will be raced in Monster Energy AMA Supercross this Saturday night in Tampa at Raymond James Stadium. Is that what that stadium is called these days? I don't even know. I will apologize in advance. I was taking some screenshots in the game and just jumped right into this video, and now have totally forgotten that my HUD is hidden, so I can't pull up any of the TAC or any of those things like that. But this also might actually be a bit of an interesting challenge, because sometimes I do look at my TAC just to see what gear I'm in or other things like that. And I'm just going completely off of feel right now, so this might be a little bit of fun to see whether this is good or not. But regardless of that, let's talk about this track and talk about how it raced in sim and how I think it might race in real life. And I'll start off by saying I think it might rain this weekend in Tampa. It sounds like the weather is going to come in on Friday night and go through Saturday morning and maybe into Saturday evening as well. And this isn't just, as Jason Thomas on the Moto 60 show put it, just your Florida afternoon showers type of weather. They are actually having like a legit storm surge go through the Florida area right now. So I think because of that, we're going to see some rain this weekend. I think it makes it obviously a different racetrack because of that. And so I think a lot of the things I might talk about in this video about how this track could race will be a lot different come Saturday night when the rain comes and makes stuff that I thought might be tripled or whatever only doubled, and so on and so forth. But we'll talk about it to start as if this is a dry track and this is how the track was built. I do know that I think a couple things have already changed up on the track. I think the Dragon's Back itself is going to be longer than 3 whoops. I think it's like 4 or 5. I think that the sand section is pretty gnarly, not so much so in sim. Like I feel like you can double through it pretty easy in sim, and in real life it's going to be a little bit harder to do that. But I think the rest of the track mostly stayed the same as far as I'm aware right now. As of recording, this is me recording on a Thursday afternoon, and this video will come out on a Friday afternoon for you guys. And press day will have already happened in a couple other things, so we may see a little bit of the different track. I'm not going to Tampa this weekend myself, so not going to be able to provide any early insights like that, but usually I go to most rounds, so usually can do that, just not this weekend. And yeah, so let's talk about this track a little bit. Like I said, let's break it down a little bit, talk about what it's going to be like. As you can see, this rhythm section right here is probably the biggest talking point about how it's going to be. In sim, guys were tripling on, step off, and then they would kind of almost hop all the way over the Dragon's Back in sim and quad into the corner. I doubt that is the line that ends up being used in real life. I really do. I think it'll be more something along the lines of like Dragon's Back down triple single or Dragon's Back double double. Or maybe they use the tables before it to jump onto the Dragon's Back and maybe triple off or something odd like that, but I doubt that a quad gets worked in. I really do think that we won't see a quad, regardless of the rain or not. I just don't think that quads are usually something that we see very often from a line like that, at least. I mean, I know we saw a triple quad at Houston, but I just don't see quads like busted out randomly after a Dragon's Back. I don't think those guys are going fast enough to even do it normally. Even if they do figure something crazy out on the Dragon's Back, I just really don't see it being a quad. So I think we see probably some iteration of you come up to the Supercross triple, you scrub it, you go to the inside, maybe you double in right here, or maybe you roll, step on, step off, and then you kind of like double up to this, like this, and then maybe soak this double up, and then double into the corner. I mean, it sounds mundane and boring, but the thing that the pros Supercross riders have that I don't have in MX Simulator is the ability to really utilize their body to soak up jumps a lot harder. And that's why oftentimes the lines that you see in a video game, regardless of how well a track is built, ends up being different than what the guys do in real life, because they can roll something better, or they can step onto a table easier instead of going over it or whatever. And it totally depends on how the jumps are built too. If the jump shapes are different, that changes a lot about it. Like for example, the sim race in Houston last week, the jump shape going into the on-off after the start straight was really flat and rolled out, so it forced you to step on. And those guys eventually just jumped over the table and then tripled, which was definitely not even a line that was really possible on the sim track because of how rolled out the takeoff was onto the step on, step off. So again, just a small change to the way that the jump face was completely changes basically how a track is going to race and or ride. So that's why I think we're going to see a little bit of difference and variation in terms of a dry potential racetrack. But if it does rain, and I think it will, I think a lot of this just turns into, you know, double what they can, maybe bust out a triple here and there. Sometimes in the rain, those guys can still do the Supercross triples relatively easy, so then it makes it seem like, oh, you know, they can bust out bigger lines beyond that, but usually there's not often chances for them to triple stuff in rhythm sections just because the transitions get so gnarly. And I think, you know, it also sets up like this corner, for example. If they cut out the right side of this jump, I think they'll go over table like this just so that they can for sure do something, because the step on, step off might get a little bit gnarly with how rutted out it gets. And then like through this first corner, I would expect it goes, you know, double, step on, step off, triple, at least in the dry. In the wet, maybe over the table, double, or something like that is going to be an option. But I don't see it being wildly different because it rains in those sections. I think where it mostly changes up is what they can do in terms of bigger lines in the rhythm sections. Like right here, for example, I don't think that they're going to do anything super crazy. So like they could go over this table right here, and then maybe over this dragon's back, and then like triple double. Like that's another option as well. And it's just like I said, it totally depends on how they change those jump faces and what they decide to do with each jump face on the track is how much it changes each of them up. I don't know if that split line exists on the inside. I haven't touched the inside yet once, but try to get down there and do something different. And also try to hit the ridiculous outside line that Alexis Leclerc busted on this rhythm section after the finish line jump if I can. Over the finish line jump. So he did it out of turn 1, so he had a little bit better run, but he was way out here and had a tremendous run, tripled in, quadded, and then doubled into the corner, but I went a little bit long on the quad. So again, like weird, quirky things like that. I don't know. Maybe they build that first single a little bit bigger, and then tripling over that little single jump is possible. It just, like I said, it depends on how they build it. My synopsis of it, though, is that in terms of racing lines, if it's a dry race, we see triple into the whoops right here, get down the whoops relatively clean, a little bit better than me, hopefully. Double out of this corner, you go up to this jump, and then I would assume probably inside double, or maybe roll, step on, step off, and then table to dragons back down, triple, single into the corner right here. Out of this corner, I think you can probably expect they'll double in, and then the rest will be a pretty, you know, rather nice flowy sand section of some kind, maybe like we've seen in Tampa in the past, or maybe they triple into it and carry a lot of momentum. And then I think they'll go outside berm down to this corner, pivot off of this berm, step on, step off if they can get it. If it's wet, I think they go inside over this jump, land to the inside. Out of this corner, they're going to double this right here, right here, step on, step off, and then triple to this corner. So I think those are probably the race lines. We'll have to see though. And it's a very standard racetrack, you know, standard football stadium type of racetrack where, you know, it has 6 lanes back and forth, basically, 1 end zone lane right here, like this one, which is going to be the lone Supercross triple on the track. And then rhythm lanes, you know, obviously the sand section is a little bit unique because they try to, at Tampa, I feel like, include sand to really change things up. But aside from this weird roller sand section, the rest of the track is pretty standard for your football stadium. 6 lanes, 1 end zone, a start that goes almost a full distance, and that's it. Like it's I've seen this pretty much exact layout in terms of the positioning of everything multiple times before. It's just that the jumps are obviously a little bit different, and that's what's exciting about Supercross is the jumps are different, and maybe it creates some different racing opportunities. As for my picks going into this weekend, I'm just going to assume it rains. I really think it does rain, so I will assume that it will. And I think that, you know, you probably would say that like an Eli Tomac and Hunter Lawrence, who just won at Houston last week, are probably the favorites for that. Lawrence being from the GPs, from Australia. He's definitely had his fair share of racing in the rain and in the mud. I would say the one person that I think could give him a little better challenge of that, because he's like an outdoor guy, is J-Mart. I think J-Mart on that Club MX Yamaha could be pretty good challenging Hunter if it's a muddy race, but he's also a little bit of a shorter guy, so maybe that makes it harder for him. I don't know. And then Nate Thrasher has also won like some pseudo Atlanta mud races before, so maybe that too is a good pick. But 450 class wise, I think you would say that pretty much anybody near the top is a pretty good mud rider. Obviously, Kenny Roczen, from being from Germany, should be pretty good in the mud, but it's been quite a while since we've really seen him have to navigate the mud, I guess, so that could be a bit unique to see how he does in that. And then, yeah, Tomac is really good in the mud. I don't think that there's any problems with that. I think Chase Sexton is also going to be pretty good. Maybe Cooper Webb is a little bit better this weekend because of the mud. He said that he wasn't fond of how fast the track was in Houston, and so because of that, you know, the mud will slow things down. It'll make the turn down lines a lot more presentable for Coop, and maybe it makes it better. I don't know. We'll have to see, but maybe he comes out and gets his first win of the season. I don't know how I just made it through that rhythm section like that. I've been trying to go for the quad this whole time, but I just haven't gotten enough oomph to quite get all the way over it. Now we're just going to blow this turn right here. But yeah, this is a little synopsis, a little look here at the 2023 Tampa Supercross track, which was raced in mxsim on Wednesday, and we raced this weekend on Saturday for Monster Energy AMA Supercross. Let me know what your guys' picks are in the comment section below. Who you're thinking is going to win round 5 of the Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship, and what you think of this racetrack. What things would you like to have seen differently about this track to maybe make it a little bit better? Let's just assume that the layout stays the same and you've got to change up a few jumps or something like that to make it a little bit more of an appetizing track. What are some things that you would have liked to see with this track? I think for me, I'd like to see maybe the sand section be more of a rhythm section, but it's made out of sand like we've seen with Tampa in the past. I don't know why they didn't do that this time. Like, maybe they end up doing it anyway, and just the actual rendering of the track was a little bit of a throw off because they basically made it rollers. But I don't know. That's one thing I would personally change. But that's it for a little video here on Tampa. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. As always, appreciate you guys stopping by, and we'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.